You cannot love someone into changing, but you can protect yourself and create conditions where change is possible. Many people shift blame to avoid shame or fear. It is not always a conscious choice, it is a survival response found in those who struggle emotionally. Evidence-based therapies, especially mentalization-based treatment, have a high success rate for helping impossible people change because they build empathy and self-awareness over time. 3 essential strategies. Strategic boundaries. State what you can tolerate and follow through, without attacking character or escalating conflict. Emotional Aikido. Redirect defensiveness with curiosity, not criticism. Ask how the other person feels instead of arguing over facts. Don't take on their emotional burdens. Support with empathy, but don't sacrifice your own well-being for someone else's growth. Realistic hope change takes time, often years, but documented cases show that meaningful progress happens when the right support and approaches are used. Protect yourself today, even while holding space for their possible transformation. Sometimes letting go of saving others is what sets real change in motion. Your new mantra. I cannot love someone into changing, but I can create conditions that make change more likely while protecting myself in the process. You matter. Set boundaries, practice compassion with wisdom, and focus on your own healing. The change starts with you, by becoming the solution you've been waiting for.
Okay, I've been curious about this one personality for quite some time now. And so I typed in, out of all the personalities, the hardest one seems like the one that refused to look at themselves. Like the one that always talk about other people, and they get offended if you point out something that they are doing wrong to harm themselves or harm others. And then they talk about other people to distract you from their flaws. And they don't want to work on themselves when it comes. They always have a complaint about wherever they're getting their information from, whether it's a psychologist, mental health provider, social worker. Everybody else is always the problem. And I asked for some documented research on this topic. And it came back and said, based on the research I found, here's what documented psychological research reveals about the personality type you're describing. Those who refuse self-reflection, blame others, and resist psychological examination. Narcissistic personality traits and defense mechanisms. Research identifies this pattern as strongly associated with narcissistic personality features. Particularly what psychologists call grandiose narcissism. A comprehensive 2021 study found that individuals with these traits employ specific defense mechanisms. That's so sad, especially if it comes to say, for example, if it comes to myself, or if it comes to loved ones, or someone that you work with, or someone that you know personally. That hurts, man. It's something to think about, because from what I know, they say that grandiose narcissism and that strong, deep narcissistic personality feature cannot be changed. And I'm like, whoa. Externalization and blame displacement. Systematically attributing their problems to others. Denial and rationalization. Refusing to acknowledge their own role in conflicts. Splitting. Seeing others as all good or all bad to avoid self-examination. Projection, attributing their own negative qualities to others. And then it goes on to to say defense mechanisms in grandiose and vulnerable narcissism, emotion, regulation deficits. A significant 2022 study published in Personality and Individual Differences found that people who consistently blame others have poor emotional regulation abilities. The research showed when experiencing negative emotions, poor emotion regulations falsely blame others for their own bad choices. This blaming behavior serves to reduce their own negative feelings, guilt, shame, anger. Good emotion regulators don't exhibit this pattern even under stress. What just came in my mind is that those that, say for example, if they have been abused as children, raped by their grandfathers, their fathers, their uncles, or their mothers, their aunts, cousins, sisters, brothers, those things are hard to get out of, I know for sure. I understand, but you got to fight for yourself. You got to fight for yourself. Psychology Today, why some people always blame others. Self-awareness paradox. Research on narcissistic personality. Okay, I'm going to finish here. I got cut off. But, okay, Psychology Today, why some people always blame others. Self-awareness paradox. Research on narcissistic personality disorder reveals a critical finding. Cognitive awareness doesn't lead to change. Studies show that narcissists may intellectually understand their patterns but lack emotional insight. Use self-awareness as another tool for manipulation rather than growth. Engage in soulless introspection. That's in quotes. A soulless introspection. That's merely bookkeeping without genuine self-reflection. Self-awareness and introspection in NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. Character defenses. Psychological research identifies this as character defense, where the entire personality structure is built around avoiding self-examination. The key features include grandiose self-enhancement to protect against shame and vulnerability. Yeah, I can see that. Chronic defensiveness that prevents therapeutic progress. Externalization patterns that become rigid and automatic. Clinical implications. Research consistently shows this is among the most challenging personality patterns because treatment resistance. The defense structure actively opposes change. Poor therapeutic outcomes, high dropout rates, and minimal progress. Interpersonal difficulties, limited insight, blah, 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 blah. Why this pattern exists? Ego protection, to maintain that grandiose self-image. Anxiety reduction, avoids confronting personal failures. Control maintenance, keeps others on defense instead of examining self. Shame avoidance, prevents collapse of inflated self-concept. So treatment challenges. Studies show traditional therapy approaches often fail, and they have the reasons why. The person's entire psychological structure resists self-examination, defensive mechanisms, threatens their core identity. The pattern provides too much psychological payoff to abandon easily. The research consistently indicates this represents one of the most entrenched and treatment-resistant personality patterns in psychology, requiring specialized therapeutic approaches that work rather than against the defensive structure. Let me type something else in. Hold on. Okay, from what I typed in, this is what came back. It said, based on my research into documented treatments and approaches, here's what the evidence shows about what actually works for dealing with these challenging personality patterns. Evidence-based treatment approaches that show success. MBT, which is mentalization-based treatment, which is the most promising. Recent research shows MBT is the most effective approach for for narcissistic personality disorder. They have a success rate of 75% recovery rate in MBT versus 25% in standard therapy. Significant improvements in self-harm, depression, and interpersonal functioning. Works by helping people understand their own and other mental state. Key MBT principles. The MBT again is mentalization-based treatment. Therapists take a not knowing stance with curiosity. Focus on what people are feeling, why they feel it, and how they relate to emotion. Helps patients connect with vulnerable feelings underneath the grandiosity. Yep. Mentalization-based treatment. Wait, let me go back here. So they help patients connect with vulnerable feelings underneath the grandiosity. And from experience dealing with intimate relationships, family relationships, things of that nature, I notice when you do talk to them underneath that I'm all that in a bag of chips, grandiosity type deal, and you talk to them one-on-one, looking just really, when you get them to calm down and get to them, they'll cut off them and talking about them real quick and, go to somebody else. But when you can get down to those vulnerable feelings they feel deep within and deep down within inside of them. Sometimes you can't touch that. They won't let you go there with them. But sometimes you can. And, I don't know, it's deep. So, mentalization-based treatment, a promising approach. Transference, focused psychotherapy. They call that TFP, transference, focused psychotherapy. Proven effective for severe personality disorders, including narcissism. Focuses on defense mechanisms and projective operations. Helps patients understand their unconscious patterns. Reduces symptoms and improves functioning in controlled studies. Schema therapy. Multi-center randomized controlled trials show effectiveness. I never heard of that, schema therapy, SCHEMA. Addresses underlying schemas or core beliefs. Significant improvement in personality disorder symptoms. Works on childhood-rooted patterns. Real success stories and readmission rates. Research shows genuine improvement is possible. A 53% remission rate, For NPD, diagnosis with 2 years. 52.5 readmission rate in recent longitudinal studies. Younger patients show better outcomes. Changes are slow and gradual, but real. And I say you got to fight for yourself. Narcissistic personality disorder progress in understanding and treatment. Strategies for families and partners that actually work. What research shows helps loved ones. Specific boundary setting techniques. Be abundantly clear about unacceptable behaviors. I don't accept this, I don't accept that, but not only telling somebody that, you have to really put your foot down and just, no yelling, fussing, this and that or whatever, and you just have to take yourself out of the equation and actually do that boundary setting without constantly fussing at the other person like, don't do this, don't do that. No, you got to get away and don't allow it to happen to you. Don't be attached to immediate results just because they seem like they doing all good and then they talk a good talk, try to make believe or try to tell you they walking a good walk. Don't get overly excited and be like, oh my goodness, they're changing. Nah. Stay consistent, even when they don't respond initially. Strategic communication approaches. Ask about their internal experience rather than challenging their statements. Use I can't deal with this intensity right now instead of accusations. You this, you're that, you're a piece of shit. You just never get it. You're and why can't you get it together and why this and why that and you sold this and you sold that. So it says instead of all that, it just says I can't deal with this intensity right now. Instead of pointing the finger and accusing them of things. Don't take on what isn't yours. Like, for example, it says here, their projections and blame shifting. They're going to turn it back on you and say, you this, you that, you this, you that. Don't get into that back and forth. Self-projection strategies. Don't act like a victim or you'll be targeted more. See, even no matter what they do to you, don't bring it up or say anything that can show them you're the victim. See I think that's what I'm gathering from this. See yourself as equal. Don't get pulled into their superior, inferior dynamic. Yeah, don't act like you're all superior over them or try to play down like you're inferior. Don't get pulled into that. Build your own self-worth through self-compassion practices. 4 strategies to manage a narcissistic partner. Family therapy that works. Research identifies 3 key functions of effective family therapy. Educate family members about the disorder. Contain treatment interfering reactions by family. Address family dynamics that maintain the pattern. Key factors for treatment success. What makes treatment work? For the individual, life crises often create motivation. Divorce, job loss, health issues. Clear, realistic goals. Prevent pseudo-treatment. Strong therapeutic alliance despite initial resistance. Addressing defense mechanisms directly. For families, understanding it's a disorder, not just bad behavior. Coordinated approach. Everyone uses same strategies. Long-term commitment. Changes take 2+ years typically. Professional support for family members. Realistic expectations based on research. What actually changes? The behavior modification is more achievable than personality transformation. Symptom reduction in depression, anxiety, relationship conflicts. Improve social functioning, even if core narcissistic traits persist. Better relationships when partners learn effective strategies. So the timeline, a minimum of 2 to 3 years for a significant behavioral change. Gradual, slow progress rather than dramatic breakthroughs. Relapses are normal. Expect ups and downs. Long-term therapy commitment essential. When treatment actually sticks, research shows treatment is most likely to succeed when external pressure motivates initial engagement. Ultimatums from work or family. Life crisis creates rock bottom moment. Specialized therapists trained in personality disorders. Family coordination. Everyone uses evidence-based strategies. Long-term commitment from all parties involved. The bottom line, the research is actually more hopeful than commonly believed. While narcissistic personality patterns are among the most challenging, evidence-based treatments do work when the right therapeutic approach is used, like MBT, TFP, schema therapy. Families learn specific strategies rather than just being supportive. Everyone has realistic expectations about timeline and outcomes. There is commitment to long-term, coordinated intervention. The key insight, you can't love someone into changing, but you can create conditions that make change more likely while protecting yourself in the progress. I love that. Can't love them into changing. Can't love me into changing. And there go that doggone radical acceptance. You can't change me, I can't change you. All right, peace.
Okay, since I'm on this topic, I wanted to share, I know it's 2, I've seen 2, but the research I came back with 3 prominent black men with leading voices openly discussing NPD, narcissistic personality disorders, and how self-awareness, therapy, and ongoing support have helped change their mindsets and behaviors. So the first one is Lee Hammock, Lee, last name Hammock, and his program is called Mental Illness. The second one I never heard of, I'm gonna look that one up, is Nameless Narcissist. Nameless Narcissist, they didn't give the name, is number 2. Number 3 is Leon R. Walker, Leon, middle initial R, and the last name is Walker. I've seen that one before, and I've seen Lee before. And they give very good content talking about how they overcame or they're still working with, and how they found out their diagnosis of narcissistic personality disorder. And I just wanted to give those references as I'm talking about this topic today. And the main reason, I like the knowledge for myself, to look into myself, help myself, as well as, dealing with relationships, whether it's intimate, family, neighbor, co-workers, things of that nature. This, you know how taking a big pill is hard to swallow. And I look at life as that. A lot of things in life are like swallowing huge, large pills, whether it's about food, whether it's about relationships, whether it's about how to protect yourself, in many different aspects of life. And that's it. All right, peace.